Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I have you zoomed in because we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. I'm going to be showing you guys how going to be like a how-to on how to draw your eyebrows on. So disclaimer, this is like drag. This isn't everyday stuff. So I'm going to be covering my brows and we're going to be drawing them back on. So how to draw them on from scratch and like what I do to make them even and make them look kind of as realistic as possible. So it's all going to be a how-to on that today. So I'm going to get straight into it. I'm going to cover my brows and I'll be back and we'll get started. See you in 2 seconds. Bye. Okay, we're back. So cover my brows, covered them with foundation, powder. They're all set. They're all good. If you guys are interested in knowing how to cover your brows, I have 2 videos on my channel. I'll link them down below. That goes into all the detail that you need to know. Okay, so we're going to start with the brows. So generally, I go with a lighter brow, like a more blonde brow. Obviously it just depends on what you're doing, but today we are going to do blonde brow. I'm going to take this pencil. This is the same pencil I've been using for so long, and this is like the best pencil, but I'm sorry that I really highly doubt any of you will be able to find it. This is the LOL eyebrow pencil in 01 Blonde. It's a super sort of like taupey colour. It's like not really light, it's like a little bit dark, it's like perfect colour. But the one thing that I do really love about this is that it's really, it's like a crayon, so it's like creamy but it won't like lump. The alternative is, if you were to use something like the Marc Jacobs Highliner, which is pretty much like a crayon, it's a little bit more, it's not as smooth. They work really well for obviously lines and, you know, your eyeliner and stuff, but for your brows you want it to be extremely smooth, like as smooth as you possibly can get it. So something that is a pencil that is will just glide on is ideal. You can use like creams. I know some people do that. That's an option, and again it'll be the exact same techniques as I'm about to show you. You just have to obviously set it afterwards, but I always use a pencil. I just find it easier. So let's get started. So what I do, so we're just going to do like a classic drag brow, like arched, darker at the ends, lighter at the front. Very like, so what I do, get my pencil. Now it's a bit hard because I don't have my eyes on, but you know, we're just going to kind of guesstimate. I usually start in the middle of my natural brow, and I kind of use my brow that's covered because you can still see it. I kind of use that as a guide. So I go up and above. So usually start in the middle of my brow at the front, and then I go up and above the at the very top of my brow, and then I come back down and just sort of follow that line down there. And what I mean by that is like, because my brows are glued up, there's a line there where it stops, so I'm following that line up and then down. So okay, and then you just want to get the top on. So obviously, usually it's a lot thicker at the front and then it comes out thinner at the back. Get that arch again. And when I'm using my pencil and I'm doing this, I don't really fuss too much about making a mistake and changing the line, because I always go back in and I always fix it up with my foundation color anyway. So if you do, say, bring your line too far down, say bring it down to here and you want it to be up here, you can just kind of play around with it a bit. So now in terms of like getting them even, again, like I said at the beginning, using your actual brow underneath is like a good guide. So like I said, I start in the middle, I bring it up to the very top, and then I follow it down to the very bottom of my actual brow there. And then that just like makes it easier. And like, you know, if you just keep doing it in practice, you'll just like start to get a bit of a flow, and it'll just become like second nature. So now at this step I start to just fill them in. So the ends are going to be darker, and as we get to the front, it's going to fade out. But again, if you get to the front and you realize it's too dark, there's stuff that I do that, there's stuff that you can do to make it look more, you can blend it out and stuff. So just very lightly, no dramas. Now at this point you can make them thicker if you want. I'm going to make mine just a tiny bit thicker because they're not really giving me what I want. Usually what I do if I get to this point and I want to thicken them up, I always thicken them up down the bottom instead of up the top. Because you don't want your, well you can, of course you can, but usually if you thicken them up at the top, they just start looking crazy and moving further and further up your forehead, and that's just like, gets a little bit out of hand very quickly. Coolio. And so another thing you gotta keep in mind is having them the same length. So like having them come in at the same point in the middle here. So what I like to do is I like to tilt my head back, and I find it easier to gauge like whether they're at the same point. So usually I end mine at the very sort of like very like tear duct of my eye. So if I kind of draw it up, they're kind of in the same line there. So that's just like a good way to kind of make sure that they're the same length and that you're all going okay. And another thing that I always keep in mind, and the one thing that is my biggest pet peeve when it comes to people's brows, is when the front of them comes down really wide. I think one thing that you want to keep in mind, because at the front you usually can't see it, but if you turn to the side, see this one, it comes down really, really low here, and it kind of makes your brows just look really weird. So always try and keep them the same thickness until it hits that arch, and then you come down with your tail. That's just me personally, that's what I do. I always keep them the same thickness because it just makes them look neater and better. So now at this stage, this is when I go in and I start to fix them up with our foundation color and stuff, and highlight and all that. So first we're going to go in with our foundation color, taking a little brush and just making them super, super clean and precise. No like loose edges. Making sure your tail's all good. Making sure that they're the same width at the front there. Now what I do at the front here, I'll generally take my beauty blender and just kind of ever so slightly go over the fronts to kind of just diffuse them a little bit. I find doing it with the beauty blender makes it it kind of blends them nicer instead of going over with our brush here. So I do that and then kind of fix up whatever's left there. Then I go in with a bit of powder, because you've just put obviously foundation over again, so you've got to set it so it doesn't move. And then kind of just going back over again and just sort of ever so slightly fixing them up. Maybe you like took your beauty blender too far back and you've sort of gotten rid of too much. Okay, cool. So that's that pretty much done. We're going to go in with some powders now, because I kind of do like to set them. I feel like it just ends up looking better. Makes it less, it just makes them look smoother. So I take an angled brush and kind of, depending on obviously what colour your brows are, you take like the same powder. But I'm going to go with this and a tiny bit of the darker one. And just kind of start running it over just very lightly. And this will also help if you've used a pencil that is a little bit that is kind of creating a bit of a like a shine. This will just help to keep them matte if you set it with powder. And now we're pretty much done. Like, this is literally it. They're usually quite easy. The hardest part is obviously just making sure, like, trying to get them to look similar and like not so outrageous. But once you get past that point, it's super easy. So we're going to highlight now. So this is a step that I think everyone should do, and I think that it is a crime if you miss a step. I think highlighting under your brow is like the thing that will make it look just like mwah. Because what you're doing is you're creating a new brow bone. So you're creating that illusion that these are obviously your natural brows and that you have just put them right on top of your brow bone, and this bone here is like protruding out and it just makes you look gorgeous. So I'm taking my white Kryolan paint stick and that same brush we were using for our other one and just lightly going straight under. Now with the highlight, you kind of want to keep it just on that arch there. You don't want to move it too far into the middle there, because it just sort of makes it look a little bit, it just like defeats the purpose of that illusion. So we're going all the way down and just making sure that it's all blended. So you can take your brush or you can take your finger, blend it all down there. Alright, cool. So now to really set that, because again that was like cream, we've got to set it then so it doesn't move. I'm going to go in with some white shadow. If you're looking for a really good white shadow, the Sugarpill shadow is insane. I'm going to take it here, big fluffy brush, and just getting it straight underneath. Brows, almost done. Lastly, this is optional, you can do whatever the hell you want, but I'm going to add a little bit of highlight just to the very arch of the brow bone there. Just to kind of help it go along a bit. See that? And then I go back in with my angled brush and just go over and make sure that anything, like any of the white shadow or any of the highlight, hit the brow, that it's all gone. Alright, and there's your brows. So I hope that was helpful. You know, from here you can do a lot of things. You can take your pencil, you can take your angled brush and add in little individual hairs at the front to make it look even more realistic. You can darken the ends quite a bit and then like really create that intense like sort of ombre look. Or you can just leave them fairly simple. I usually leave them simple, no dramas, and then that's that. So I really hope you guys found that helpful. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought, you know, if you did find it helpful or whatever. But for this video, I think that is it. And so, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Guess I'll see you guys next time. Bye!